Blog Talk Radio.
Aziz, Aziz,
Welcome everybody. Welcome to Black by God. I am your host, Crystal Good, along with my co-host, John Clement Shabazz L. Hey, Brother John, how are you? I think you're here. Hold on. I think
okay.
you're on. I didn't press the right button.
Peace and blessings, Sister Crystal. I'm happy to be here. And Black History Month, and we are continuing with your series on Black women organizers. But however, to start out, today, February 7th, is Sandra Bland's birthday. And I'm not necessarily sure that she was an organizer, but we do know that she was an important advocate. And the situation that happened between her and the officer is in the back of many of our minds. So we want to send out a special acknowledgement to Sandra Bland for she was one of the martyrs that we had experienced in terms of police brutality. And so I want to acknowledge her. Also line us up for our guest tonight, who is probably one of the youngest people that we've interviewed thus far. And she's an important organizer in the Fairmont, Morgantown area. Again, she's young. And we're going to get an opportunity tonight to talk to Hydia George. Okay.
Great.
So I'm excited to get into that.
I'm going to dial her number.
Okay.
Let's see. George, I've been reading about. I put her articles in the show notes. Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey, Hydia, this is John Kimmons Shabazz and Crystal Good. Hello. Do you hear us? Are you hearing us well?
Yeah,
Hydia?
sorry.
Okay. John Kimmons Shabazz and Crystal Good, and we're Black by God. Okay.
Hi.
So,
Yeah, nice to meet you.
It's good to meet you guys.
Okay. Yes. I told Crystal that there wasn't any reports on you, but I didn't take the time to Google your name, and we did find out that there are some articles on you where you've been doing good work as an organizer in the area. And, last week we had Sister Lawana Logan on, and she mentioned you. Okay, so you must have been picking up some good vibes from Sister Lawana, right? Because she had good things to say about you.
I've known her my whole life, actually.
Okay. Sister Hydia, we got some questions for you. Just to start out, I noticed that your name, Hydia, let's talk a little bit about that. Is that a Muslim name, East Indian? What's your heritage? And talk about your background, how you wound up in Fairmont. Are you originally from that area? We want to know about you first.
Well, actually, I am from Fairmont. I'm a Fairmont native, but I'm actually biracial, and I'm not really exactly sure. I do know that I am African American and Cherokee and Sioux Indian. I'm those indigenous groups, but I'm not sure as far as anything else so far because I haven't been able to do a DNA test because, like I said, I'm biracial.
Okay. That was important. Yeah, go ahead. Excuse me. Go ahead.
I was just saying, but yeah.
Okay. Now, I just wanted to tell you that was important for me because I looked at your picture, and many of us here in the state of West Virginia are of a mixed heritage stock. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm also, my great-great-grandmother was a Pamunkey Indian, so I got indigenous heritage as well. And I got a little bit of other things in us. But we still Black. Aside from all that, we still Black people.
Definitely.
And I see here, I see where you did some organizing for in June. You did some organizing in Fairmont, and we talked a little bit about it last week with Sister Lawana. But I'd like for you to talk about your experience in organizing in Fairmont. What were the things that inspired and motivated you to do those protests last year. I believe it was in June of 2020. Okay.
Yeah.
Give us a quick background on your organizing experiences, if you could.
Okay. Basically, what started it out was I think I was in like 7th grade. I remember because, like I said, I'm biracial, so I didn't really get to really learn too much because I was living with my father. So when I was living with him, I didn't really get to learn too much of the actual Black history. But I remember in 7th grade, we had a teacher that had us go back and do a civil rights thing for February. She had us do like we took the whole month and really got into Black history. And I did.
Okay.
I got assigned Emmett Till for that, and she ended up having me teach some of her other classes for my next years at that school on Emmett Till because of how much research I went and did. And then another story that really stuck with me was the Central Park Five. They really stuck with me because I found them when I was like super young. I was like 11 or 12, I believe.
Okay.
And I found the original document before it got taken off of Netflix, and I watched it and remember feeling so hurt for Black people as a whole for just how we had been treated, and going back and learning how slavery really was and how we were really just treated throughout time, how we weren't really human beings. And especially with the point in time of George Floyd, I wasn't actually the first person to do the first protest. That was actually my friend, a good friend of mine. Her name is Gabby, and she organized the first protest actually because she wanted to really bring awareness to Fairmont, but she had me like be the voice of it because, for one, I was of African descent, and then just because I have a loud voice and I was already kind of known for being an activist because I also went to the Trayvon Martin walk when we had it back when I was like in 2012 when he was killed. Like I've kind of been an activist since forever.
Okay, so back in 2012, you got involved with the Trayvon Martin protest. Was that there in Fairmont?
Yes, we had a walk for that. The KKK actually arrived at that one, and we had to shut it down early. But I wish I could have found the pictures from that. But I was actually a part of that walk as well back then.
How did you know it was the KKK? Talk about that experience there. I mean, we just,
Did they have their hoods on?
It was actually quite wild. The police had to escort us, like all of the people that were walking during the march, because the KKK members that were in Fairmont decided to rally, and we were being escorted by the police.
How did you know
that
they were KKK? Were they like announcing it? I mean, like how
they
how
were
did
screaming and everything at that point. And at that point, we heard the police officers walkie-talkies, and they were talking about it, trying to escort us off of the premises so none of us got hurt.
Wow.
Well, hold on. I got to be clear with this. Did they have on their traditional attire with the hoods and the robes?
I was kind of towards the front of the march, so I actually didn't see them personally. I caught wind of it because everybody was like being escorted by the time that I figured out what was going on. I just heard that the KKK members were there, and I didn't actually get to see them though.
Okay. This is the police that were saying there were KKK members there, and that they were there. The police were protecting you from the KKK members, like the police want to protect Black people from the KKK. Okay.
That was that was just at that point. Yeah.
John, that was funny. I got that. I heard that in there because that's always required with police. I'm just asking because one of the things that's sort of like I think that makes organizing in West Virginia and existing in West Virginia, you know, for the most part, the greater America, is there's all these sort of like, we know QAnon, we know Proud Boys, there's all these little like clubs, you know what I mean, cults or whatever you want to call them, and they're starting to reorganize themselves in these other names. So when you said KKK, that's sort of like the traditional racism, almost in the sense of like, not the sort of, it's all the same, but it's also just sort of interesting to hear that the KKK, because that, I know that John spent a lot of time, researching things in the Southern Poverty Law Center and just kind of getting a grip on sort of these sects of white nationalists and white supremacists that are really in the fabric of West Virginia. And it's something that I think is sort of, we might not have huge numbers, but we do have significant presence of these organizations in our state. We know that. So
absolutely.
Yeah, even the ones that I organized during 2020, they said that there was going to be arrivals and show-ups of the KKK members even then. So they still have their numbers even to this day. I mean, I don't know if they necessarily go under a different name. They just presented themselves as the KKK at that point. They might go under different names. They had different little group chats and stuff like that, even on Facebook.
Well, I'd like to share with both of you all. I know Crystal's probably already aware that the National Alliance has its group down in Pocahontas County, okay? And they've been down there. From what I understand, their membership kind of wanes at times, and they shut down, but then they pop up again. And from what I've heard up under Donald Trump's presidency, that the National Alliance down there in Pocahontas kicked up again. We know them from Timothy McVeigh, because he mentioned the Turner Diaries, and their head chief or their chairman or whatever, he was the one that was located down there in Pocahontas. Crystal, are you guys familiar with these guys?
I'm
they're
very
called
familiar.
The National Alliance.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Periodically, they come. They come through here, and they periodically they quietly come through here. They're it's advanced racism. It's not the redneck guys spitting tobacco. Oh no, these guys could be doctors and lawyers, and they're advanced. They're polished.
Can I speak to that? Because I was a witness. I was sitting there at the Pretty Penny, which is right down the road from the camp. It's a restaurant. If you look up the Pretty Penny in that area, there's also sort of, a lot of racism that happened when a mixed couple took over the restaurant. But I was sitting there one day, and the strangest thing happened. I mean, I swear. I'm sitting there, and I saw like a Lamborghini go by, and I thought, well, that's odd. It's like a country road. It's big. Whatever, close to D.C. That's okay, fine. Somebody's like rolling through this town in their Lamborghini. And then I saw like a Maybach. And then I saw like the big Mercedes class. And then I saw the Lexus. And then I saw the Porsche. I saw foreign cars that, you can't even buy in America going down this road. And I said, what is going on? And the people at the Pretty Penny said they're having their meeting, their annual meeting, right? So, John, just what you said, right? These are the power brokers of America rolling through West Virginia to go to their annual meeting so they can see how they're training up, folks at this camp. And look, I don't know what they do up there, but that really reframed like everything, in a real tangible way to see how and who is controlling this white power narrative and who has to pick up, that's not excusing our neighbors, right? And the quote unquote stereotype of hillbilly redneck races at all. But I'm saying that, they're not even the ones in control of what's going on. It's like they're still just a pawn in this anyway. So that was a real life moment of just what you're talking about, John.
Hydia, I wanted to ask, since you're 21 years old, I got to ask you this because I'm in my 50s, okay? I still feel young.
Okay.
But I'm in my 50s. And oftentimes, for instance, when the protests jumped off in Fairmont, okay, I shared with you that we organized the Juneteenth, and I know you've done some work on that. But I got a call from Miss Amy Parks, who was our spiritual elder, and she hollered at me and said, John, what are you out there? I said, Miss Amy, give me a chance to get myself together. She wanted to know if I was out there with the young people, and I told her, I said, Miss Amy, I got mine in already, okay? And we both agreed that she had got hers in, I got mine in. Okay, but we see a new generation of young people out there, and we both cheered for the young people that were out there in the streets protesting. We both said it was your time to do that. Now, even though I said that, there was a Breonna Taylor march here in Morgantown that I did go. The urge to get out there got so strong that I had to get my butt up and get out there, because when black people are getting killed out in the street, you feel like you got to do something. If you don't do something, you feel like you feel kind of hopeless. But black people getting killed in the street, that does a job on your mental and emotional health. So I see when you organize, I see you fighting back. I see you bringing people together, okay? And I want you to talk about how, if there was any difficult or the impediments to organizing young people in Fairmont, what some of the older people might have had to say about the protest, because I think I heard some of the chatter, and I had to tell some older people myself, hey, leave them alone, back up off of them. It's their time. I'm glad they're doing something.
There was definitely a lot of between the older black community and the younger black community during that time. There was a lot of conflict because they didn't like how we were more head-on and more aggressive and more angry with the police. We weren't afraid, and we didn't hold our emotions back. We said how we felt, and I mean, we did cuss at the police. We did get wild. I'm not gonna sit there and say that we did not. We definitely did, because at that point we had words. Exactly. We felt very strongly about what was going on, and especially in the city of Fairmont, the police. They are very racially motivated, and I've had run-ins with the police myself, even after this and beforehand as well, and a lot of my friends have too. So at that point in time, it was just very angering, and we took it because we went on and did it without any guidance. We were the ones that planned it. We didn't go out there really with any type of guidance from the older community at first. And then that's why they turned out the way that they did. And we did tone it down afterwards, after we started working with the older community. But it definitely was a head-on collision with them, because they said that we were being disrespectful. Because in a way, I'm not going to say that we
disrespectful.
But
disrespectful of what? Hold on. Disrespectful of what? I got to ask that question.
Disrespectful to the police, to the authorities.
See, I see this. It's a protest. It's a protest. You're protesting mistreatment from the police. So I kind of sense that we've been a little soft. Okay. When I say we, some of the older people have been a little soft. We need to be direct. Okay. When you kill a black man, a black woman down in the street, you need to be direct. In Trayvon Martin, in case he was killed, and they didn't arrest Zimmerman. It took Hashim and Zinga of the New Black Panther Party to issue a bounty for his arrest before they finally arrested Zimmerman. So I think you guys, I was proud of you, because you spoke the rage and the anger that I had within me. And Miss Amy felt it too. We were both cheering for the young people. I said, look, Miss Amy, the work that you put in.
That's definitely good to hear, because at least with the older black community in Fairmont, we definitely were very frowned upon because of that, because we didn't filter what we wanted to say. We definitely said how we felt, and at that time, I'm not going to say the exact words, but it was definitely more on the lines of F the police, F12. Like, we were definitely out in the streets at the police station screaming that in their faces. And then one day, we ended up being maced at one of our protests because of them tackling a 17-year-old girl, and I refused to allow them to George Floyd them. And of course we were mad. Of course that's something we were going to say. A large part of my protest, my protesters were maced and had injuries due to that. 2 of my protesters were wrongfully arrested that day. We were very angry.
I'm from Charleston, but was this on the news? Did this get attention?
It was. Yes. One of them, he actually got arrested because he sat on a police car and they said that he vented it. But we were all sitting on police cars. They singled him out. And the other girl, like I said, they tackled her at the protest to the ground without her parent or guardian being there. And another one, he ended up tackling one of the cops because, like I said, a lot of my protesters, including myself, because I was one of the first people on scene to be maced, we ran up to try to help them. And he was one of those people that tried to help her, and he bulldozed the cop, and he was arrested. So we went up to the police station and protested until they were released.
What were your demographics? When I say your demographics, the demographics of the people that were participating in your protest. What, did you have? I know you had some Caucasians or quote unquote white people participating, but because I had heard at one time, I know some of the protests that were led over here, there was large numbers of Caucasian students, okay? And for a lot of Caucasian students, I peeped, my view on that is that allowed them to kind of be independent of their white parents, that they were getting on board with a black movement, so it allowed them to have some independence, okay? But I'd like for you to speak to that, you know what I'm saying, working with whites in a movement that is about black people getting justice, about us getting attention to our issues. Is it sincere or is it just a kind of like a fad thing? I mean, could you speak to that, sis?
That
Hydia?
honestly to me was, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, sorry. To me, we honestly had a pretty large group of Caucasian people, and even we had like other people of indigenous races, and like there was a lot of people that came out of just all different shapes, size, colors. It was definitely, we made it like there towards the beginning, it was definitely a Black Lives Matter movement, but then we kind of shifted towards the end to make it more of a movement for unity. To like, it was definitely still Black Lives Matter no matter what, because you can't say that all lives matter without Black lives and other groups as well. But we wanted to show that just because we were having so much backlash with that because of some of the white community feeling that we were saying that it was only Black people that mattered. So we kind of shifted to try to welcome more of the white group that felt a little uncomfortable with being at the protest. And
right. Now,
so we
go ahead.
went for a movement of unity. I'm sorry. We went for a movement of unity more than anything.
Okay. Now, nationally, the Black Lives Matter movement has had to deal with that to the extent that, I think it's a racist comeback to say that, it should be all lives. But I even had some black people that come up to me talking about it should be all lives matter. Really, for me, I'm not I just got to be clear. I'm not a Black Lives Matter activist. I tend to come from the old school Black Panther legacy, that all black people are Black Panthers that just have to be activated. So, okay. However, Black Lives Matter is the movement. It has the name, okay? So I respect it for what it is. However, I'm not necessarily a Black Lives Matter activist, but Black lives do matter. So it gets to be kind of complicated. However, I think that you guys, Black Lives Matter, should stick with Black Lives Matter, meaning black people's issues first. If it's good for black people, it's good for everybody. We sat back and let other people's issues get addressed first.
You know what's interesting?
Go ahead.
I just want to say that on that, we got to be careful because what just happened this past week in West Virginia politics is there's a delegate, his name is Mant. He said during his election, he got caught on Facebook saying extremely homophobic and, things on his Facebook, so much so that he dropped out of the race. And then he decided he wasn't going to drop out of the race. He came back. This is a man that's been caught over and over again just with saying the most vile homophobic slurs, okay? over the years. And so he came back. He won his seat. He's in the House of Delegates, right? And he issued a statement saying that he will not support the Fairness Act, right? This is a bigot, man, okay? I mean, there's just no other way around it. He will not support the Fairness Act, which gives equal pay and protections to the LGBTQ plus community, right? Because we need to be focusing on things like Black History Month. And he's a perfect example. This is a 100% Trump supporter, right, that is using our own messaging in this very context. You know what I'm saying? I think so I just want to, kind of like feel free to look that story up. But this is one of those cases where our narrative in some ways, right, which is like, and this is what I tell my children. It doesn't matter if you're, you will always be Black and trans. You will always be Black and whatever it is that, puts you into other communities, because in this country is anti-Blackness first, right? And so, when this delegate man, pushing, for us to that, saying that the LGBTQ community takes away from Black history, it's so complex in West Virginia that I'm so happy to have this conversation. Sorry, I'm talking a lot because sometimes, Hydia, it cuts me out. So I just want to make sure that I get in what I'm trying to say.
I got you. No problem.
Yeah, but I really am excited that you're here. And I just want you to I'm curious about, where you are now with your organizing, because we're this far past George Floyd. Now we're in 2021. We've had the Capitol insurrection. I also want to know, are you safe? Are you okay? How can I help? All of those things. I just want to know, from John calls it the Shabazz report. I just want to know what's going on in Fairmont. Where are you now with the organizing? What do you think we should be doing? Because, as John said, the old folks is the old folks. I'm not quite ready to claim old folks, but I also trust the youth and the leadership and the intelligence. You know what I'm saying, of what you have to say and what you're doing. So please, if you could just kind of give us an update on, where things are now.
We don't really have anything specific planned just yet, but we definitely have been in talks about it. We definitely do feel that there needs to be more of a movement still, because things kind of quieted down, because it got a little hectic for us, and there was a lot of conflict and a lot of fights and stuff, and we didn't want to be represented the wrong way, and then it started causing conflict within the group that we were forming, and we just wanted to go ahead and take a break so nothing ended up coming off the wrong way. So like I said, we don't really have anything planned. We still do want to do something for Juneteenth. That's going to be something that we would like to do. We would love to work with you guys if you guys already have something planned, of course, and I already have some information on that.
Okay.
So,
well, I want to add. Excuse me. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I was going to say that I would want to add on to that. I would want to. Can you hear me? I want to make sure. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I would want to add on and say that I sent Hydia George the 2021 National Juneteenth Celebration Resolution, which last week I presented that to the Fairmont Human Rights Commission through Jim Nolan. But we hoped that will be going to the Fairmont City Council for Black History Month. Either it's going to go on the 9th or the 23rd, I believe, because they meet the second Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday in February this month. We hope that they will give us an opportunity to speak on that, and I'd like for you to be a part of that, where you can share the fact that you went on ahead and organized a Juneteenth barbecue in Fairmont after we had canceled. When I say we, us in WV Black Unity Coalition, we canceled because of the fact of what happened out in Everettsville. Okay, so many people had gotten sick, and I felt like, when I look back on it, I felt like I got spooked a little bit because other areas were canceling, And because people were sick and suffering in our community at that particular time, even members of my own family, the heat was on me or us, okay?
Right.
So we made a decision not to have it. But I told LaWanna Logan, look, the young people rose up and did it anyway. It made me feel good because you took responsibility. You really you wanted to have that Juneteenth, or how did that play out? Okay, did you guys get together and was like, look, they're not going to have a Juneteenth. We're going to go ahead on and do something anyway. Did it go like that? How did it flow? I mean, how did you guys organize that Juneteenth after we had canceled it?
Well, that was definitely in the heat of the moment during the protests anyways. And then I actually hit up LaWanna because, like I said, she's been a part of my life, and I knew that she was an organizer for things like that, and she had been in one in the past. So I wanted to see if she was doing anything, and she actually said that she wasn't. So at that time, since I had already had a group and we were organizing the protest, we went ahead and decided to go ahead and organize a parade and then a cookout afterwards for the Juneteenth celebration.
Yeah, I heard about it. One of my friends told me it went off well. I started to pick up and come from over here and go over there. But Morgantown, WVU, had its first Juneteenth celebration. It was organized by Sam, I think her name is Sam Norris, and she has some type of role in Black Lives Matter in Morgantown. Now, does your background include an official position with Black Lives Matter in any kind of way, or have you guys just done something, just gotten together and said, okay, we're going to do this? I mean, when you say organization, do you have a name for your organization, or are you just a collective that get together and pull off events?
It was just at that point like a little collective that got together. We didn't really it was just a group of the younger generation, like people that I grew up with and people that I was around and that have grew up either here or in the surrounding areas close to here. Okay. And we got together and decided that nobody else was really doing anything around here.
Right. Well, see, we need to go ahead.
Congratulations. No, I just want to say congratulations. I love that. And I really just see that. I mean, I was on a call the other day, and, folks were talking about mutual aid, right? And, the idea that, I come from a generation where you make a donation, you get a receipt, you give it to a nonprofit, right? And the young folks are like, no, we give money to who needs money. If you say you need money, you get money. I raise money, I give it to you, which is a shift of thinking. It's also a shift in sort of the destructuring of power, right? Which is you didn't need an organization to do an event, right? You just needed to do it. And you correct how we get things started. Now, of course, they can transform into all this, but the fact that you were able to pull together in the middle of 2020, a global pandemic, post the Black Lives Matter movement that was so visible, to find a cooperative group of human beings to work for justice in Fairmont, West Virginia, right?
In Fairmont, West Virginia.
Right, in Fairmont, West Virginia. Home of our good Senator Joe Manchin. Y'all need to be calling him to give you some hot dogs and hamburgers next time. But I think I wanna say that is we've been talking a lot this week on Twitter Spaces, which is just another Clubhouse platform. But it's just the idea of just doing things, just doing it, right? That's getting the job done. We don't need a title. We don't need a structure. We don't need this. We just need to find people that we can work with and work towards a goal. And, one of the things that came up, I know I'm just talking too much, but one of the things that came up this week too, John, that I wanted to tell you about was around, sort of and you too, Hydia, the need in West Virginia for Black folks to sign up for the vaccine hotline. So that means we need people to sign up for the vaccine. I don't want to get into the controversy of the vaccine, but let's just take this as an organizing opportunity, right? That, we're at a point in West Virginia where young people like you, Hydia, that have organizing skills are really critical to the development of, this pipeline of information, right? So I just want you to know how important that role is, that you are a, a community organizer that has value, right? And that at this present moment, valuable to power structures that you know, need you, right, to be a voice in the community, right, to share information about public health. Okay, so pay attention to that. I would encourage you to pay attention to that, regardless of where you fall in the narrative. And I hope that you are a pro-vaccine person, but I just also think that, you know, at this moment in time, you know, you all plowed through and did the event in the middle of a global pandemic, but we're not out of this yet. And, you know, there is a great concern, and I'm curious about, you know, where both you and John feel about this, because every day changes. You know, the coming when so many of our community that is white is receiving the vaccine, and what that means. You know, what that means to our community, right? Who may not be getting that access, who may or may not be trusting the vaccine, but also, you know, the coming months as we start to open up, right? What that means when one group has received a vaccine and the other group may or may not have. I know that there is a sort of a bit of a deep concern for our senior community. But anyway, I'm just curious about, you know, what's going on in Fairmont.
Let me speak to that, then toss it to Hydia. You know, we had a show on that, and my position on that, you know, it remains the same for the same reasons then, even though some additional information has come out. I'm not necessarily a pro-vaccination person, given our history, okay? And we don't want to get into that today, you know, but I think people should have the option of making an informed decision, okay, on that, right? So that's a personal decision to make. Relatives, I have relatives in my family. It split my family, okay? When I say it split my family, I got one person saying, well, I'm going to get it. Then I got that person's child saying, no, I'm not going to get it. I said, well, this thing has divided us as our family, okay? So, you know, we're waiting on additional information to come out, but I take the position that, you know, people are getting the vaccination. Some black people, you know, recently there was a woman in Virginia, they claimed took the vaccine and she died within hours, but she had pre-existing conditions, okay? So I talked to her quickly. I talked to my cousin about it. Go ahead. Go ahead. Excuse me. Go ahead.
I want to clarify, because the piece of information that I think is not being distributed through our communities, right, is it doesn't matter if you believe in the vaccine or you don't believe in the vaccine. Black people need to sign up on the vaccine hotline, right? Like there is a space, because what that does is, you know, the people that need the black communities that need the vaccine, right? Like we need those demographic markers in the system, kind of very much similar to the way the census works, right? So meaning, you know, there's a senior community that, you know, 80 plus black women, church women that want to get the vaccine, right? You know, we need to get black people into the system, right? So that we have those demographic markers. It's very similar to the census. Call you and say the vaccine is right now at 12 o'clock. Can you come down? You know, Miss George, you can say no, right? Like, but at this moment, in order for our people, the ones that want it, and the communities to have these markers of health, social determinants of health into the system, I just, you know, I'm listening to these conversations and I feel a great urgency, you know, to encourage people just to sign up, you know, to put your mark, very much like the census, to get into the system. And I don't think people are talking about this or understand sort of like the need for this and what this means for, you know, for the health, right? The systems around black people and health to be organized in this moment, because it's not just about COVID, you know, it's about diabetes, it's about all of those things. And I don't know. I just want to take up too much time on that. I just wanted to share that.
Look, I want to tell you that Reverend Matthew Watts had a good point when he said that the African American COVID-19 task force needs to be made up of healthcare professionals, meaning doctors. And I thought about that. Ramelia's my friend. That's Miss Amy's daughter. But she's not a doctor. Yes, when the situation jumped off in Everettsville, she responded to it like a soldier, but she's not a doctor. She's not a healthcare professional. So Watts has a good point there, okay? That African-American COVID-19 task force, the healthcare task force, needs to be made up of healthcare professionals. That means you're going to have to dig in your pocket and spend some money. You just can't give people titles and they feel important, not stepping on anybody's toes, but you just can't give people titles and expect things to get done. No, you got to bring in healthcare professionals, okay? So I'm saying kudos to Reverend Watts for pointing it out, because I missed it when he pointed it out because I was being a little overprotective of Romelia, okay? But fact of the matter is we do need healthcare professionals in that area.
So we're
I think everybody would have to agree with that.
So the
Go ahead,
data,
excuse me.
what I've heard is that there's a conflict, and that's why I wanted to ask Hydia, because the seniors, blacks, our great grandparents and grandparents, right? The communities there that are talking to their churches and their folks, they want the vaccine, right? There's a group of they want the vaccine, but they're concerned that the young people aren't getting the vaccine. Yeah. So they're concerned that the young people don't want to get the vaccine, right? Because what happens is let's take Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is grandma can say, nah, y'all can't come over this year. We got the COVID, right? We're just going to be safe, right? But then what happens, when it opens up and the young people, anyway. So I just was curious, it's just my own sort of question, not even Fairmont based, but just sort of what is the dialogue around, your cohort, your community, and your coalition there. You've been so vocal on George Floyd and Juneteenth, but I'm curious, how is COVID impacting you and the community? Young community, I guess.
We honestly kind of broke apart before we really got to tackle all of that. And I do know that we did get one meeting done, and then as far as I know, we never got to really step out of just more than that meeting with the ideas that we had. But I do know that there's still free testing for COVID and stuff like that. As far as the vaccines, I haven't really heard too much talk in Fairmont at all about it, in any community at all, honestly.
What about the testing? What about in terms of testing? Have you been tested?
I honestly have not been tested yet, but I don't really go anywhere. I stay in the house.
Okay.
So
I had to ask that question.
Yeah, I kind of like.
Okay. Well, Hydia, that's fine. I do have another question here that is important.
I'm not against it.
And
I'm not saying that I would never be tested. It's just I haven't really had the chance.
Yeah, if you haven't had the need for it.
Yeah, and I haven't really. Yeah, that's my thing. Is like I'm not really doing too much to really need one, but I'm not against it at all, and I definitely would get one if I feel that I needed to in a heartbeat.
Okay. Absolutely. What do you think is the most important thing? What do you think is the most important thing that has to be done to enhance the quality of life for blacks in Fairmont? Some of the important things that from your assessment, from your.
As long as you maintain the guidelines, just wear your mask, make sure your hands are clean. Don't just touch things that you don't know who other people have touched, and if you do, make sure you have hand sanitizer or some type of disinfectant. If you do go out, make sure you try to change your clothes and stuff like that, just in case you have come in contact. If you are out a lot in work and stuff like that, I do recommend getting tested quite often just to make sure, because there's a lot of people that go asymptomatic and you won't even know that you have it, and you don't want to pass that on to somebody that is older or might have some type of illness to where they can't fight it and they pass away. So I just feel that everybody should be very mindful what they do and who they're around and where they go, and just make sure that they follow the guidelines. And as long as they do and are safe and make sure that they're clean and follow everything, then it should be fine.
Okay. What do you think is the most important thing that could be done to enhance the quality of life for blacks in Fairmont? You know, when I say to enhance the quality of life, there are certain areas such as home ownership, health care.
Oh,
We have disparities in the state, okay? And I'm asking you, from being a young person in the area dealing with young people, upon your analysis, your assessment, what do you think are the most important things that we could do to direct immediately to enhance the quality of life for us? Okay, I mentioned home ownership, I mentioned health care, but there's also education. You know, I'm helping you out here.
That's actually something that we tried to tackle during the protest, because we met with the mayor and stuff, with the chief of police and stuff like that, and had meetings and stuff where we were trying to get some demands for certain rules and regulations to be met, because there's a lot of systematic racism and a lot of politicians and police officers and nurses and people that take care of other people and are in charge of other people's well-being and health that are racist and biased. And until we are able to get at least people that aren't, even if they are white, but aren't biased, but I definitely feel that we should get more people of color and indigenous descent to be willing to go into those type of fields, to be willing to go into being a businesswoman or a nurse. There needs to be more of that in these areas, because you don't really see too many black nurses, too many black politicians, too many black people in a place of power at all.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you had a business, Hydia. What's your business?
My business it's called Diosa Moon Tarot and Art.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Okay,
DSO Moon.
Go ahead.
DIOSA, Diosa Moon Tarot and Art. I personally follow the more spiritual, African spiritual, indigenous. I'm eclectic, but I am a witch, is what I classify as. And that's kind of where my business goes. I make a lot of jewelry, and I make art. I make candles and do tarot readings, things like that.
Okay, now how does that come off in Fairmont? How long have you been doing it, first of all, and how well has it come off?
I've only been doing it. I've actually only been on my journey now for about 4 or 5 months, and I started the business about 2-3 months ago, I would like to say. It was in November when I started it, and honestly, it's going quite well, I would say. And I actually have a few fellow black witches that also have businesses in the area, and not even just witches, but other black women and other black men that have businesses in the area that we kind of network with and really try to represent all of us as a whole.
You're gonna are you on Instagram?
And when you say witch,
are you on Instagram? Is it, you have to spell it again for me, because I can't find it.
DIO.
Okay.
SA.
S is in Sam.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm excited.
Okay.
I have been looking for. There's a lot of people that are very interested in, sort of the. I don't know how to explain it. In West Virginia, there's sort of the Appalachian.
The other side.
Yeah, there's Appalachian granny witches, things like that. But there's a whole other side, and when you really start to unpack that, like you said, following the roots of the African deities and how it's not talked about. And so kudos to you for having this business, and I'm trying to find it right here.
I'm I'm on both, but I usually go more off of Facebook, so that might be why you can't find me.
Okay, yeah. I don't live over there, but please, I'll
I
send
do
you.
have a. I'm sorry. What was that?
I just want people to be able to find you that might be listening, or so that I can follow you and tell some folks.
Yeah.
I definitely do have an Instagram though. Let me go look at the name for you,
Okay.
just so I can
Okay.
spell it out for you exactly.
Now, Hydia, when you had told me briefly that you were a witch, and when I heard that, I think the first thing came. I grew up in the church. I spent time in Islam, and I also studied the African spirituality. But before I got to the point of studying African spirituality, my background in the church was such a background where my grandfather did not allow us even to have a deck of cards. He did not play. Okay, he was that kind of a dude, right? So, and I actually even with
my family's very hard Christian.
Yeah, So, but even to the state now, and Crystal and I talk about that. I know Crystal, for example, her sun sign is Libra, but my moon sign is Libra, and I tell her that we got a balance going on with this. She's a Libra sun, and I'm a Libra moon. Okay, and I think I may have asked you one time before about your birth sign. I got to be honest. Growing up in the church, I did not accept that. Okay, my grandparents did not go for that, and because they didn't go for it, I didn't go for it either. But after I had got like about 25, 26 years old, I ran into someone who made me study my own sun sign, and to see whether or not I knew myself, to see whether or not I had those personality characteristics. And I end up, as I'm a Leo Virgo, I'm on the cusp, I end up studying that because I seen that as a legitimate example of what your personality types are. You know what I mean? Basically a psychological profile, a cosmological psychological profile.
Yes,
and 85% of that is correct.
A lot to do with your makeup.
Right. So what's your birth sign? What's your sun sign? We're going to talk about that.
Sagittarius.
Okay.
I am a fire
So
sign.
what's your what's your moon sign?
Gemini.
Do you know your moon? You're a Gemini? Okay, because in order to know your moon sign, you have to have the time of birth in order to know your moon sign. Okay. And your rising sign.
My sun, moon, and rising. I'm a Sagittarius, Gemini, Leo.
Okay. See, I'm a Leo. My rising sign is Leo too, and that's probably got something to do with your boldness, just because you told me you did this Juneteenth celebration, you organized it, and you guys weren't really organized. You just brought people together real quickly and put it together.
Yes,
I'm
very, very bold.
Right. But then Sagittarius, the way Sagittarius is, my mother's a Sagittarius, and I had an ex-girlfriend that was a Sagittarius. They are wise. So you have the boldness of Leo in your rising sign, and with Sagittarius you have the wise, strategic planning type of disposition.
Definitely.
So if you know these things about yourself, it can give you confidence internally if you don't get it from the outside. Meaning, people from, like, for instance, over in Fairmont, you might have caught some heat. What is she doing out there? She need to go take her little nair ass home and sit down. But
I actually even received death threats. I got very, very, very much amount of heat and hate, and like I said, even death threats were sent my way for the protest.
Wow. I don't like to hear that, and you need to be protected, sis. Go ahead, excuse me, Crystal.
Did you turn those? Did you turn those threats in?
I didn't.
I just hope. Delegate Walker. I just love her so much, and she's. Sometimes I think when she comes in the room and she says that she gets death threats, people just like kind of keep moving the conversation, and I'm like, this is
right.
This is. Do people understand Black women in West Virginia's lives are being threatened because they're speaking out? Like, hello, you know?
I see.
So I just don't want to
Yeah,
be
So
Crystal?
it was kind of wild, but I didn't really go to the police because at the end of the day, like, I know that I'm protected, and I mean, even with them threatening me, I know that it's just a shallow threat because I hurt your feelings and I'm in your face screaming about how I
Right.
need justice, and you don't like that because it makes you uncomfortable. But I don't care that it makes you uncomfortable because it needs to be heard.
Go ahead. It's an attempt to intimidate you. We all know that, okay? And if there were other
and I'm
people,
not
look
one
at
to be intimidated easily.
Go ahead, sis. Look at Fannie Lou Hamer. You got a little Fannie Lou Hamer in you, and check her history out. She was down in Mississippi. She was the truth, and they did try to intimidate that sister, but she said, "I will not be intimidated," and said what she had to say.
Exactly.
So,
I'm the same way.
Especially when you're doing the right thing, okay? Oh, you guys are remember. You guys are responding to protests where black people were killed, okay? So hopefully we plan on being able to get together for this Juneteenth, and we're organizing now. I know Sister Crystal told me that we got to talk about something else besides Juneteenth. Okay, so we've talked about your organizing, and we want to bring you in, sis. Okay, we want to bring you in, line you up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because I think you're carrying the energy that we need to be able to carry. Now, where do you stay in Fairmont? I'm talking about you don't have to tell me exactly which street, but which side of town? Okay, in Fairmont.
Shady side. Shady side.
Okay, Shady side. You holding it? Yeah. Shady side held it down. I would listen to this. Luana was from Shady side. I remember.
That's why I know
Fairmont
her. Me and her used to live very close together, actually.
Okay. Now I wanted to share with you because you're younger, but Fairmont used to be the kind of community that was tightly knit. Okay, we had sisters like Sister Amy Parks, Gwendolyn Moore with the welfare rights. And we had the old head dudes on the block. They, back in the days, they patrolled that block. You couldn't come through here causing chaos, because I was one of those that would cause chaos back years ago. And the old head dudes would put that in check. Yo, young blood, no, you can't be coming up here causing that chaos. We got children and we got older women that got to come through here. There was, I think, the crack epidemic. I got to blame it on crack. It took a whole generation of those older head brothers that used to protect the neighborhood. They might have been doing whatever they was doing, but you couldn't come through there terrorizing the women and the children. And I think as black men, me included, I think that's a responsibility that we have to do. We have to make sure the community is safe for the women and the children. So, if I'm out there and I see the women and the children at risk of being terrorized, I'm automatically, instinctively called to do something about it. Step up. Now, am I going to go to war behind it? I don't want to have to go to war behind it, but sometimes it's necessary for us to take a stand for the women and the children, because we can't have no peace. Okay, we really can't be happy if our women and children are not happy. Bottom line. Okay, if they're not safe, they're not taken care of, we can't be happy. We can't.
We got about 90 seconds, Hydia. Our show just shuts down automatically. We're in this blog talk radio, and it just says you got an hour, and that's all y'all got. So, just want to let you just thank you. I'll be brief. And just, is there anything you want to say before we sign off?
I wanted to go ahead and give you the name for the Instagram. I figured out why you couldn't find it. It's just on there. It's Diosa Moon Tarot. That's why it's not and are on there.
Okay.
Okay.
But I just want to say thank you for having me on the show and allowing me to just be a part of the community and recognizing what I've done. I mean, I don't really go for the recognition, but it is nice to be recognized, to be a young black woman in the community making a difference.
And this is you,
Hey.
Your first post is Hoodoo for Beginners. Is this you? Great.
I believe so. Yes.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Hoodoo.
I am so excited to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you as well, Hydia. You got a lot of good energy, especially coming out of somebody young.
Thank you.
And that's uplifting for a brother like me. I think Sister Amy Parks is looking down on us, and she's saying, "Yeah, I like that." Okay, not only her, but there were
Thank you.
others
That
that
means a lot.
sacrificed for us. So, yeah. So, did you get a chance to meet Sister Amy while she was alive, Hydia?
I'm sure I have.
Hydia?
I said
Okay.
I know
Okay.
Romelia.
Okay. So, well, that's great. I want to take the time to say that while we're here toward the end, that Crystal, you mentioned moving to Twitter Spaces. And
Yeah.
Crystal, you're on Twitter Spaces.
We got Hydia over on Twitter. Hydia, you got to get
a Twitter for Dia Simoon, and I have a personal Twitter, so I'll be able to reach you guys on those.
Please, and you know what? I'm going to send you. There's a wonderful woman named Julia, right? She's a poet, and we're going to have a midnight tarot reading over on Spaces. So I think it's wonderful that I met you tonight and that we share that interest. I'm proud to be in my little mountain.
Thank you.
So, welcome.
Yeah. Now, Crystal, I wanted to add while I had you. I wanted to. What's the time that you do your Twitter Spaces on? Have you gotten a regular time?
It doesn't matter. We can do it whenever we want to. We have complete total freedom. I mean, so what we're basically having the same conversation over on Twitter. They have a new feature, Hydia. It's kind of like Clubhouse, and so we can go in there and have conversations. Other people can join us. The technology is a little better. It sounds better. We don't cut each other off as much. It's just a little cleaner conversation because the technology is a little stronger. But John, whenever we can meet over there in Twitter Spaces and have a conversation just like we're doing, and invite other people in too, which is what I think is cool. People can just kind of like pop in and say hi.
Nice.
I still like Sunday at 7. I got to keep it real. I like Sunday at 7. Okay.
I just try the other platform. Try over on there.
Well, you're available to do that. I like working with you every Sunday at 7 because I got to the point where I was looking to be able to get out, get some of these businesses lined up. We have CC Brown, Hydia. Do you know her?
I believe I do.
Hello?
Does she own Eye Candy?
No, that's Tiffany Walker Samuels.
Okay.
CC owns Impulse Apparel over here on High Street. Okay.
Okay, then. The name sounds familiar, though. I think I do.
Yeah. Well, these are other black female business owners in the area. What I found out is that it looks like some black women have been doing business here in this area, okay? We got CC, we got LaTanya Jones, there's others out there, okay? So I think it's necessary to give them a platform and bring them in. You're 21, and in order to be successful, listen, I find that black women are tired of working for other people just like black men are tired of working for other people, okay? So I'm seeing black people wanting to be entrepreneurs. We're tired of working. We did slavery, okay? We should be tired of working for other folks, okay? Now, if you ain't got a job, you got to get a job. But, if you can do better, if you can start your own business and be successful at it, hey, have at it by all means. Be an example for someone else.
Right.
So,
I'm excited to be a Moonie because now I'm going to buy all kinds of fun stuff from you because you are a jewelry maker. You've got these crystals. You've got this storytelling. Congratulations. This is good.
The crystals actually, I will not claim credit for. Those actually come from a fellow witch of mine. She actually owns those. I just buy them from her, so I can plug you in with her.
Sure. I'm looking at your little
Okay.
garden. I'm just saying I love, I'm happy.
Thank you so much.
I'm a Mooney now, right? I can be a Mooney, right? Like
Yes, you are. I'm very welcoming. Thank you. That
right.
means so much.
What's when you talk about being a witch again? I'm taking you back there. I hear the music coming in, but being a witch.
John, we're gonna have a show. We're gonna talk about witches, and we're gonna talk about colorism, and we're gonna talk about all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
We're gonna
Okay.
I think this is something I think this is an interesting show to expand on. We can't talk about COVID and witches and George Floyd protests. We got so much to talk about, and I love being here.
Yes, definitely.
Hour with you all. I know it's going to shut up. Let us say.
Okay. All right. Let's roll. It's been enjoying this episode with my colleague Crystal Good. We Black by God in the Shabazz Report. I'll let you next week.